ladies.
Hi girls. Last week we just talked to you about understanding your hunger and what that looks like for you. And today in session number 6, we're going to talk to you about noticing and challenging your food rules, which are just those rules that maybe you had or still have around food that are making certain things off limits. So maybe it's pizza and you have this thought around, I can have all these other foods and I'm doing just fine, but pizza I can't have, or I shouldn't have that, or that's not a healthy food. I can be intuitive, but that one's not okay. So we're going to teach you how to be able to have all of these fun foods in your diet in a way that feels structured and calm and more inviting and not so fearful. So we're going to do that today with 4 steps. Your first step is identifying your food rules. The next step, step number 2, is going to be reducing the urgency or rush around food and those rules. And step number 3 will be walking away, learning to walk away and take a break. And step number 4 is going to be bringing your mind back to this really calm, neutral place.
Step number 1 is identifying your food rules. Like Paige said, food rules are those little thoughts that pop into your mind where you call one food bad or good, or where you think that a certain food is off limits. But it goes broader than just the actual good and bad foods. You may find that there have been a certain diet or a book that you read or an article or a friend, someone told you that you should leave 4 hours in between meals or 5 hours in between meals, or you should always eat breakfast within 10 minutes of waking up, or you should never eat breakfast and you should only have liquids until lunch. All these things are food rules. They're these rules that you've gathered from outside sources about what your body needs. But the truth is that food rules are complete lies, because there's no one that can be the expert about your body but you, which is exactly why Paige and I are not telling you exactly what to eat, exactly what time to eat. We're giving you the tools to figure out how your body needs to be taken care of, because we're each unique. So for some people, eating within 10 minutes of waking up, their body tells them to do that every single day. For other people, it takes a little while for their digestive system to wake up and be ready for food. So you have to reject those outside rules, those outside voices, so that you can truly get in touch with your own voice. I know for me, I used to think that I could not eat lunch a minute before noon. So if I was famished at 11:50, I would make myself sit there with my stomach growling like a lion until 12 o'clock when I was ready to eat. Or if I was doing the vegan thing, I wouldn't touch animal food. Or if I was, whatever was the diet of the week, if it was calorie counting, it had to be within a certain number of calories. Macronutrients, I could only have a certain percentage of protein. So we all have these rules that kind of pop up into our mind. Likewise, it may be that you have to finish everything on your plate. That's also a food rule. So all of these guidelines that we bring to every single meal, to every single snack, those are our food rules that we've gotten from outside sources.
Yeah, what I find so funny about food rules is that we use them to try to control ourselves and contain ourselves and give ourselves these boundaries that we feel like we shouldn't cross. But almost always we do cross them, and when we do, it leads to overeating and binging and really feeling out of control. So it is so much better to just commit right now in this session to letting go of those rules and recognize that they are truly not serving you or your body in any way, and you would benefit so much more from just letting go of them. So
Yeah, totally.
What do you say?
Definitely, jot those food rules down as they pop up so you'll notice them. You may have food rules that you didn't even realize that you had. I know when I started doing this, I found rules I can't have a snack an hour before lunch even though I'm really hungry because lunch is in an hour. Whatever they might be, just these silly little rules that pop up that you've cultivated over time. So keep a running list of those and just constantly reassure yourself that you don't have to follow that rule. You can't just say, forget it, I'm done with food rules, I'm never gonna believe in them again, I'm not gonna follow them. It's gonna be something that's gonna take a little time to get through. So really work on noticing what they are, talking yourself down away from that food rule, and then proceeding the way that your body's telling you is going to feel right.
Okay, in step number 2, we're gonna teach you how to reduce the urgency around food. So it's really important for you to do this because when you have this urgency around food, that's when you feel like you can't control yourself around the food or you can't stop thinking about the food. So we want to move this or reduce this urgency by really reminding yourself that you can have the food anytime that you want it. You know, you're human, the food is just food. So you really do have this full control. So if you can just repeat to yourself through the day at any mealtime, when any food rule is challenging you, I can have this food anytime that I want it. Or maybe perhaps you're eating a meal and your body signaled you that you've had enough, and you know you've had enough, but you're afraid to listen to it because you're thinking, oh, I was kind of planning tomorrow not to eat this food again. Remember and recognize that that's a food rule and it's not serving you in any way. So you want to eliminate it by reminding yourself of the truth, which is that's not true. I can have this food again tomorrow.
Step number 3 is to walk away. So once you've reduced the urgency, like Paige just talked you through in step number 2, you may need to walk away and do something different for about 20 minutes. Likely you'll forget about that food, the urgency will be reduced, and you can move on with your life. So pick something enjoyable and not stressful to walk away and do. So maybe don't walk away and start writing this really crazy report for work that you've been dreading anyways, and you know it's just gonna be totally a terrible experience. Maybe you want to walk away and truly go for a walk outside. You take the dog for a walk, get some fresh air, call your best girlfriend, take a bubble bath. Do something to really diffuse that stress that's going to allow you to find a little bit of joy, a little bit of pleasure, so that you are not stressed or bored, but you're really engaged and relaxed in the next thing that you do.
Another thing with that I just want to add that I know has worked for clients and it has even worked for myself is setting a timer for yourself. If you just need to give yourself like this little reminder that it's been 20 minutes, because you're going to notice that a lot of times after 20 minutes you totally forget about the food, which is great. That's the goal if you're not hungry. But it's pretty cool when you hear the little sound go off and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I completely forgot about the food. It's been 20 minutes now and I definitely am not feeling like I need to finish that. So if you need an extra tool, you can go ahead and set a timer for 20 minutes. Step number 4 is bringing your mind back to calm. So once you've reminded yourself that you can have the food anytime that you want it, anytime during the day, you want to start practicing this mindset where you're just constantly pulling yourself back to a calm place. So even with what Simi just talked about with walking away, this is really useful in those situations when you need to walk away, but you're struggling with actually doing it. All you need to do is remind yourself that you can, it's like taking a few steps back, but in your mind, that you can come back to this calm place where you're not feeling all these rushing thoughts and feelings. You're just feeling neutral. And you're reminding yourself, again, that you can have the food anytime that you want it. Another cool thing about this is that it is true that the way you do one thing is the way you do most things. So if you feel like at this point you're focusing too much on food, which would be normal at this point, you're kind of hyper aware of it right now, you can practice being calm in different areas of your life. Like you can practice driving a little bit slower, waking up 15 minutes early in the morning so that you're not rushing for work. You can practice just talking a little bit slower when you're in a conversation with your friend, walking a little bit slower when you're going to talk to your coworker at work. Anything will help you. So if it's true that the way you do one thing is the way you do anything or most things, then it would be true if you started calming down in the rest of your life and slowing down. That would directly affect how you're eating and help you be slower and more calm at mealtime too.
Definitely. And I know for me personally, yoga has made a huge impact on my relationship with food, on all areas of my life. It's definitely had that ripple effect where because I'm slowing down on my mat, I'm getting really present, I'm just being in the moment and breathing deep, then I'm seeing those habits showing up other places. And for clients and for myself, deep breathing in those moments is so powerful to staying calm.
That's so true.
I had a lot of food rules, and one of the biggies was that leftovers were bad. So I never ate leftovers. And the reason was because I didn't know what was in the meal. So because I didn't know the exact ingredients, the exact portions, I had no idea if it was fitting into my current set of food rules for that week, that month. It was always changing, trying different diets, trying different things, calorie counting, whatever it was. So I couldn't be sure. So to me, eating out meant being unsafe. It meant being out of control. And so I wanted to minimize the amount of time that would happen. So because I had this food rule, because in my previous life, I knew that if I was going out to eat, I was never taking that food home. And if I did, I was never going to eat it as leftovers. I would always overdo it at restaurants because it felt like I was off my plan. I was bad. I was going to have to be super clean, super restrictive the next day. So eating out always led me to overeat. And it was a direct result of that food rule. When I started intuitive eating, I knew that I was going to have to experiment with eating leftovers and give myself permission to do that. And it was incredible to see the correlation between taking leftovers home and actually enjoying them, giving myself permission to eat them, and the amount of food that I would eat at restaurants drastically went down. So I was able to leave food on my plate feeling safe that this was not the last time that I was going to have it. And it truly left me feeling healthier and happier because I was never stuffed, and I got to enjoy that really fabulous food multiple days in a row, which was really cool.
I used to have so many rules around food. So I thought that I couldn't eat after 8 p.m. I had to eat 1,200 calories a day. I had to exercise 5 times a week. There were just so many things that made me feel restricted that it really took the fun out of getting to enjoy food, getting to enjoy exercise, and I really felt chained down, like I wasn't able to experience that many things. And I think even worse than that was all of these things were there because I thought that everything had to be focused on weight loss. I thought that everything that I did had to be focused on weight loss, even down to the point of eating out with friends and getting to experience going to parties and vacations. So when I started eating intuitively, all of this became so much more fun. I got to actually go to restaurants, go on vacations, not have to worry about looking at the menu before I got there. I got to go to the restaurant, sit with my friends, talk, look over the menu and ask myself whatever I wanted to eat was entirely fine. So when you're eating intuitively, you get to experience so much more freedom in food because you're focused on how your body feels, and it feels 1,000,000 times better.